Welcome, everybody, to this beautiful December 1st. Getting close to Christmas, 24 days. My kids are excited for that. But welcome to today's show. I'm super excited about my guest and my friend that's going to be here with me today. I'm looking forward to you guys to hearing his story and what he's doing and all the good work that he's doing in the veteran community. But a couple things. We are broadcasting this live across social media. So Facebook, LinkedIn, on a YouTube channel. So you can go to all those platforms and see us live there on the VA Boss live stream. But today I want to welcome my good friend, Mike Burns. Mike, I'm telling a little bit about Mike. I got a little info from his wife, so I didn't mess this up, which I probably would, just so you know, because I can't remember anything. So Mike Burns, Staff Sergeant, U.S. Army. Just shy of 10 years, 3 tours to Iraq. Was hit by a mortar rocket, which led to him losing his left leg above the knee and several other injuries. But the most important thing about what Robin said, your lovely wife, who I love dearly, was that you are the father to 6 amazing kids.
Yes.
And as a father myself, I appreciate that. That's where we are in our lives now. Obviously, we thank you for your service, Mike, to this country. But now it's, life has gone on for you. And we'll talk a little bit about that today. So Mike, thanks for joining me today, man. I know you're super busy, but I appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to hang out with me.
No, I appreciate it, brother. I've been looking forward to this. This is good stuff. I love, we don't really talk very often, so this is time to hang out a little bit.
Hey, it gives us a chance to hang out. And,
that's it.
Guy
time.
It's a good, it's technology these days, right?
Absolutely.
Anyway, so you are in Abilene, Texas currently.
I am.
So here's what I want to kind of start with, so people can kind of follow along with you just a little bit. And so obviously you were in the military police, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So when did you get back from the hospital when you got hit with the mortar? What year was that?
So it's kind of a unique and long story. I'll try and summarize it as much as possible. So I actually got hit during my first 12-month rotation in OIF 1, the first year of the Iraq War, and I was peppered. My leg was peppered by shrapnel. At the time, I was seen by the medic and was asked, "Hey, can you continue?" And I was considered what they call walking wounded, and I just pushed on. I actually finished that deployment. Went on my second deployment. I was 9 months into that 12-month rotation when my knee finally went out. I was medevaced out, had my first surgery. When I came out of surgery, they told me they wanted to amputate. I refused. And a good old Army major, with all their wisdom, got mad and wrote deployable across my medical files. So 3 days later, while I was still on crutches and recovering from the surgery, I was called to my sergeant major's office, where I was informed that I would be going back on a whole new deployment. So I actually came back from that deployment December 7th of 2007. And that's when the surgeries really started from that point. Limb salvage for a bunch of years and finally had it amputated February of 2015.
Right. So when did you get back? When did you get back stateside?
I returned from my last deployment December 7th of 2007.
Okay. And you guys were in Arizona, is that right?
No, I was actually stationed in Fort Riley, Kansas at that time. It was after that that we got PCS'd over to Fort Huachuca.
Gotcha. Okay. So just a little bit, Mike and I actually met through his relationship with what was then the Texas Sentinels Foundation and a few guys through there and some guys that I'm still friends with that, were recipients of homes. Yours was in Abilene, right? And that's how you got to Abilene.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what year did you get to Abilene?
So a little backstory on Texas Sentinels and bring us to Abilene. So when I got medically retired, I was one of the last groups that went through my process of med board, that the VA did not sit on the board with you. So I got 50% of my military base pay, just like if I did 20 years, I was medically retired. So then I had to go fight for my VA benefits. Well, with a all the kids in a family, especially young kids at the time, $1,200 a month was half of my base pay. We could not make ends meet. So we actually ended up moving up into northern Arizona into a small cabin. I was still going through limb salvage surgeries, pending multiple other surgeries, back, shoulders, and other stuff. Splitting wood for heat in the winter and all that. And Texas Sentinels had reached out to us and basically said they wanted to build a home for us here in Abilene, Texas. So they brought us out here. It was May of 2014, and May of 2015 is when our house was complete. We were in a rental up until that point, but our house was completed in May of 2015, and we lived in that up until September of last year.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Texas Sentinels did a lot of good for a lot of people.
Absolutely.
You know, I have a lot of mutual friends that were recipients there and met a lot of people, that were proud supporters.
Yes, absolutely.
What the Sentinels Foundation was, and we thank Jeannie and Richard for taking that on. Not a lot of people will walk to the front line and look that head on and do it.
Exactly. And a lot of people don't realize that Richard is an Army veteran himself. So obviously he's a big advocate for our veterans, and Jeannie as well, his wife Jeannie. And they really went above and beyond, along with every community that had a veteran come into a home through Texas Sentinel Foundation. It was actually the community that came together to make it happen. So like Abilene, for example, the whole house was all donated, whether it was materials or time or whatever it was. Everything was through donations, and that was all through the community of Abilene. Unfortunately, due to Richard's health, Texas Sentinels is no longer in operation. And of course, that's a sad thing for our veterans, but him and Jeannie and everybody on their board of directors, everybody within the different communities throughout Texas that the veterans were blessed enough to go and be a part of that community and receive a home. I mean, they not only, changed lives, they saved lives. And just the impact that had on me and my family was substantial, and really it turned our life around, where we went from struggling to thriving.
Yeah. And I hear a lot of those stories, and I got to obviously hang out with a lot of the guys that were recipients and hear their personal stories and get to know them. And, Greg Dotson and Mike and Paul Potter, all those guys, and which I'm still friends with all of them. And because it's, I think it brings together like-minded people. And I think that is the most important thing about building a community, and what TSF did for all those guys that lived around Texas and rallied their communities around them. And
absolutely,
as a civilian sitting and watching this and getting to see these things, it was important to me that there was the massive amount of support that we could give.
Yes.
You guys deserve it. I mean, that's the way we saw it. And because most people don't ask for help. They just kind of, hey, I got this. And so you kind of have to pry them a little bit to get them there, because there's a pride factor and all that. And I can understand that to a degree, but it led you to where you are today in Abilene, and Sarah Fay, I think, was your home team leader. Isn't that right? With RE/MAX?
No, Sarah Team was not the home team leader. Laura was, who's also a part of RE/MAX out here, but Sarah Fay is just a very, very good friend of ours. She's a local realtor out here that Robin actually works with now, my wife.
Yeah. And I think it's phenomenal, because what I see is not only the opportunities that Richard and Jeannie provided for you guys, but the connections that were made for the spouses, and the opportunities for employment and all kinds of different things that rallied out of that.
Absolutely. It was a total game changer. And again, it's about the community, and first and foremost, I mean, Texas, I say this all the time. We've had, through my foundation, and we'll get into this later, but we have a program called the Ambassador Program. But I've had 9 different ambassadors move their families out here to the Abilene area, just because of how Texas is. I mean, I always refer to Texas as the promised land. This is exactly what America was meant to be from the beginning. And we're very blessed and very proud to call ourselves Texans. We're transplants, but we're Texans now.
I'm a transplant too. I'm from Oklahoma, so which is Texas North, as they say.
Yeah.
And I'm an OU fan in Texas, which is even more weird for a lot of people. But
that is weird.
It is weird. Yeah. So, and Mike has a daughter that goes to UT. So, there's that whole thing. But,
Yes.
but, what I would like for you to share now, and because I think this is most important is Texas Sentinels is no longer, but you still continue your give back. And that's what I like to describe it as. It's a give back in the veteran community through Operation Pay It Forward. So don't you share with what OPIF is and how that came about?
Yeah, absolutely. So honestly, the idea kind of started when I was taken out on a hunt. When I got through my amputation, I had my leg, my prosthetic, for about 2 days, and a good friend of mine out here, who's also my taxidermist, but he'd reached out to me and said, "Hey man, let's go turkey hunting." So I was like, "Great." I was still learning how to walk. I was supposed to be using a walker and crutches, which I refused to do at the time. But yeah, right. So I was determined. I was walking out of there on my own, and I was a lot like a toddler learning how to walk again. The balance and how to use the leg, and I didn't really have a lot of physical therapy with it, but I made it happen. So I go out and do this hunt, and this guy, he's just a good friend, Cody Cothran, and so we pull up in this field, and he starts dumping everything out of the bed of the truck. He says, "I'm going to go park the truck, grab your stuff, go over this 4-strand barbed wire, just head this direction in the field. You'll run into the blind." And I'm thinking, man, I don't know if I can walk in this grass, much less climb over a fence and get across down trees. So I just kind of sucked it up. It's what in the military we call it embracing the suck. Yep. And I made it happen. I ended up shooting a couple of turkeys and posted a picture up on Facebook, and I was contacted by an outdoor magazine that did a short article on me. Through that, I had was contacted by a gentleman named Eric Pauley. He's the co-founder of Operation Pay It Forward, and basically just said, "Hey, look, I have been looking to get a veteran out on a Western style mule deer hunt. We want to get you out if you're willing. We're not going to pack your stuff. We're not going to carry anything out for you. We're just going to be there to hang out with you if you're willing to go." And I was like, "Yeah, challenge accepted." So, and this was a few months after my amputation and getting my leg. So we went the following August and did this hunt. But during that time in the outdoors, we had a spike camp set up with a tent and all that stuff. And I explained to Eric that what it did for me, the motivation, the sense of purpose and direction, and something to look forward to, something to work towards, and how that just helped me regain my life, my attitude, my demeanor, my outlook, and just having that new mission was like a total game changer for me. So I told him we needed to find a way to duplicate this. So that's when Operation Pay It Forward was kind of born. And that was back in 2015. And by 2016, we had filed and got approved for our 501c3. So since then, we've been up and running. And we started out with just, kind of just the outdoor adventure stuff, mostly doing hunting and fishing trips. But now we do everything. I mean, whitewater rafting, mountain climbing, cattle drives. I mean, you name it. If it's an outdoor activity, we make it happen for the veterans if they have interest in it. So if you got a guy that wants to fly a kite, we'll buy some kites and go fly a kite, whatever.
Yeah, for sure.
But we've been super blessed with the response through our donors and sponsors and the veteran community as a whole. So again, we got our 501c in 2016. So we're just now about ready to go into our 6th year. And we've already had out over 3,200 veterans, and we're active in 46 states.
Wow. Yeah, that is impressive, man. And I, as I've watched, and I pay attention to a lot of these. I've kept up with, I'm a big fan of therapeutic type things. And I have a friend of mine who does something similar here in my neck of the woods here in Flower Mound, and he's a Marine, and he takes guys on hunts in South Texas and all kinds of things. And the stories that I hear from that are incredible, because I know, like, for my father, who has PTS and severe, is that, like, when he gets on the water fishing, all that goes away.
That's his therapy.
It's therapy. It's calming. And obviously Texas is ripe with hunting land and all kinds. I mean, it's one of the greatest places on earth, if not the greatest place, in my opinion.
Amen, brother.
for a lot of reasons. But the biggest thing is the veteran community. And so how many hunts do you guys do a year with OPIF now?
So it really kind of varies. I mean, pre-COVID, we were doing anywhere from 3 to 5 veterans a week, minimum. Yeah. So it just really kind of varies. But if you kind of do the math, we're averaging roughly over 500-600 a year is what we're doing roughly over since we started. The thing that is interesting with us is we are first and foremost, what separates us, we're a true nonprofit. So there are absolutely no paid positions. It doesn't matter what it is. From our board of directors down, there's no paid positions. We don't pay anybody to maintain our website. We don't pay anybody to handle media, to do our books, anything. It's all volunteer. So that way we can assure that 100% of the proceeds that come in, 100% goes directly to the veterans and their families that support our programs. We started with just the outdoor adventure stuff, mostly hunting and fishing at first, and it's expanded over the years doing different stuff. But the whole premise to all that was the hunt or the fishing trip or whatever it was, that was kind of just the carrot we were dangling in front of the veteran to get them off the couch, get them looking forward to doing something, and get them outdoors. So when we book an event with a veteran, we book it anywhere from 2 to 3 months minimum out. That way, whoever the ambassador is, or if it's myself or whatever, we're keeping in contact with the veteran. We're vetting them on the phone. First of all, make sure that emotionally they're in a good place to handle a firearm, and if not, then we'll do another event. But make sure they're in a good place. We're tracking what's happening with them in the VA, medications, appointments, all that stuff. But it's building that rapport and that relationship, and it's almost duplicating deployments. You're given sit reps. Hey, here's the weather. Here's your packing list. Here's your SP time that you're going to roll out and be here. This is when we're going to start hunting. This is what we're hunting. And then, you get up in the morning and you're checking each other's gear again, and you roll out, and we're on foot doing spot and stalks on these animals. And we do a lot of exotics. We do free chase as well out here, but it really kind of duplicates that. And when we get these veterans, and you kind of touch based on this, some of the stories that you've heard, and I'm sure you've heard a lot of this, but when we get these veterans that show up, sometimes it's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 veterans. I mean, we've had groups of 40 at a time, not necessarily on a hunt, but other events. But when you first get them together, there's this instant level of comfort that veterans have being around other veterans without anything having to be said. Yep. They may not have been in the same unit or been operating the same AO or even in the same country, but we've all had the same experiences. So there's that level of understanding and comfort with nothing being said, because that these guys and girls get it. There's no judgment. You can talk freely about stuff that you can't normally talk about with your wife, your kid, spouse, parents, civilian friends, because you're afraid how they're going to respond to you and look at you after that. Yeah. So getting these guys together, they come in and they're kind of a little standoff, just kind of checking out the situation. But by the first night, sitting around the campfire, talking about the hunt, people start talking about experiences. We find out a lot of guys ended up serving in the same AOs together, area of operations together, even running same missions together. They didn't realize that they were there at the same time running that same mission. And it really builds that camaraderie, which we all miss as veterans. If you ask any veteran, what do you miss the most? They're going to tell you the camaraderie. Yeah, for sure. So it builds that camaraderie and that support channel that you need. So when these guys leave, it's not a one and done. Hey, come out and have a great time and then go home and nothing changes. At that point, these guys stay in contact. We stay in contact with them, and we offer them the ability to become what we call an ambassador with Operation Pay It Forward. So there's no obligation to become an ambassador, but if they choose to continue and grow that relationship, then they can become an ambassador. And that means go home to your local communities, find veteran that needs to get out and do something, plan that event, whatever interests that veteran, and we pay for it all to happen. They're just going to spearhead it and basically be with that individual during that event. Yeah,
no, that's amazing, man. I mean, I hear so many stories about those types of things and the transformations that people make because of it, whether it's hunting, fishing, or anything, or just the camaraderie, like you mentioned. So let's talk about this first. How Do you guys have fundraisers to raise money? How do you guys do that?
Yeah, so we started out, obviously, it's being a nonprofit, you got to raise funds. So the very first fundraiser we threw together in 12 days and raised $47,000, and we thought that was absolutely amazing. That was our operating budget for the first year.
Yeah, for sure.
Now we do events that cost more than that, but
yep.
But just kidding, not that high. But now we hold annual banquets. We hold them all over the United States. Our big one every year is in Salt Lake City, and that's where our 501c3 was registered through, because that's where Eric lives. And oddly enough, the rest of the board members live in Salt Lake as well. I just happen to be the only one here in Texas. I'm the only one blessed enough to be here in Texas.
Yeah, they live in the cold, man. Nobody wants the cold.
Right? Yeah. And traffic. Oh man. So we hold our big annual fundraiser out in Salt Lake every year. We do fundraisers in Colorado Springs. We're going to start getting them going out here in Texas. But we have found that not just the veterans that we get out stick with us. Our donors have stuck with us. They get it. They understand. And during these banquets, we bring in ambassadors and veterans that have attended our hunts and have been a part of the ambassador program. And they get the chance to talk to these guys firsthand. Hey, what's your experience? What was it like for you becoming a part of OPIF? What has it done for you? So they're hearing firsthand, the opportunity and the benefits of these guys getting back into a leadership role, getting a new mission, getting a new sense of direction, a new purpose. And I always say nobody's going to take care of a veteran better than another veteran. And I call it healing through helping. My personal experience was with, dealing with my PTSD and my TBI and my physical issues and all that other stuff. I kind of was doing better over the years, and I kind of hit this plateau. And I found that once I hit that plateau, I was like, man, there's got to be something else out there. And then right about that time was when OPIF developed, and I haven't hit a plateau since.
Yeah. I hear a lot about purpose, right?
Yes.
That's something that gets lost after service, whether it's somebody who, like yourself, who was injured in combat, or just somebody who just gets out of the military. Like they lose their identity because their identity is attached to what they did, the guys they hung around every day, the guys in the shop, wherever it is. And these nonprofits, from what I've been a part of, they bring together that purpose again.
Absolutely. And I share that story a lot. I share a lot of my personal experience rather than the other guys, because that's their story. That's their stuff to tell and share. But my story, when I got out, I was put out fairly quick on a medical retirement. And I went from, being this high speed NCO and running combat missions and the op tempo of deployments and training and all this stuff, responsible for lives and missions and millions of dollars of equipment. I really felt like I was doing something that had purpose and meaning behind it. And then all of a sudden, boom, now I'm just some broke Joe sitting on a couch somewhere, not knowing what to do with my life. I was no longer Sergeant Burns. I no longer had those responsibilities. And it really left me wondering what I was going to go from that point. And it's really, you fall into a deep depression. You do. Yeah. I mean, there's really no way around it. Sure. It doesn't matter if it's a medical discharge or if you've done your 20 and your 20 years is coming up and you get out. When you get out, you still go through that time of just feeling lost and you hit that depression. But by allowing the ambassador program, getting these veterans out through the different other programs and different stuff that we do, it allows them that opportunity to, again, have that camaraderie, have that new mission, that new sense of purpose, direction, and back into a leadership role.
Yeah. No, and I see these evolutions. I also see guys that get stuck in that hole. And yes. The clients who've had, they've got extreme PTS and all these different things. And what's been an honor for me to do is get to learn. I'm always learning. I think as humans, we're always learning. And when you stop learning, I think you die a little bit. That's my opinion. And
no, absolutely.
Yeah. I get to learn, I've asked you questions about certain things and guys that we know and things that we do in the travels that we have, because providing like you do through Operation Pay It Forward, providing an outlet that's positive and that is, there's like this no pressure, it's not like some multi-level marketing thing or anything like that. It's just guys coming together to do what guys do and shoot guns and hunt shit and go fishing and do all those things. But also it's therapeutic.
Yes,
Without
absolutely.
somebody sitting on a couch and spilling their guts to a doctor, right? That's a hard thing that I've seen, and the questions that I've asked is, you feel comfortable. And to me, it's all about being comfortable. So
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean,
well, to a certain extent. I mean, so one of the things that we do, and anybody that knows about hunting in Texas, the big thing that people talk about is, oh, you sit in a blind over a feeder. That's that. They say that's not hunting.
That's not hunting.
Fish in a barrel. So, and we don't do that with our guys. Doesn't matter what their limitations are. Doesn't matter what they're facing physically, mentally, emotionally. We want them to go out and push themselves physically, mentally, and emotionally. We want them to redefine those limits. When you get out, like myself, all I heard for a long time was, okay, you can't do this anymore and you can't do that anymore. These are all the physical ailments that you have, and you're going to be restricted to stuff. And it really stuck in my head. Like, okay, I was this, high speed, high driven soldier that was 10 foot tall and bulletproof at one point. And now my doctor's telling me, I can't do this anymore. Well, then your family, they don't mean to, they mean well, but they take that and they multiply that times 10. And now all of a sudden you can't even get up and get a drink on your own. You know what I mean? So, yeah. So by pushing these guys to get out and do it, and make it happen, and they're learning that nobody puts limits on us but us.
Yeah.
So it's the realization that I'm going to redefine my limits. I'm going to set what my standards are. I'm an above knee amputee. I don't do things exactly the same way. I can't do it as fast as I used to, or as most people do, but I'll get out there and do it. I may have to do it differently. I may have to do it a little bit slower, but by God, I'm going to get it done regardless of what it is.
Yeah. And I think that's the biggest thing, is that it's easy to become, non-ambulatory. You just kind of veg.
Yes.
Because I think that's a lot of what society expects.
Well, absolutely. I mean, we get even people. So we'll have, God bless them, we'll have people reach out to us and say, hey, I'm in Montana. I got a couple of tags, landowner tags I want to donate, but I want somebody who's in a wheelchair. I want somebody who's missing a limb. They associate visual physical disabilities with a wounded veteran. And it's, that's just the very, very tip of the iceberg. There's so many other issues and so many other problems that we as veterans are facing on a 24/7, 365 basis. So, it's also educating the Joe public as well, as far as, what we are, what we do, and, the capabilities of Operation Pay It Forward and the capabilities of the veterans that are out there.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. So let's talk about a little bit about some of your personal goals.
Yeah.
So we talked about a little bit before we got on the air. So you are back in school.
Yes. Again, yes. 51 years old, man. It never ends.
51 years old and back to school. The thought of that seriously makes me want to vomit. But it's cool to see it. So we're talk to me a little about that journey and that thought process to go back to school at 51.
Yeah. So if you did the math, I'm 51 now. I was in the military for 10 years. So obviously I went in older, but I was actually in your industry. I was actually had a company out in Vegas with some friends, but left that and just got back into the lending aspect aside as an originator. But I was in the mortgage business for a lot of years. I just come home one day to my wife and I just said, it's been weighing heavy on my heart and I need to go in the military. And at the time she was pregnant with our second daughter. And she supported me. So I went in and I just kept re-enlisting because I believed in and loved what I did. So when I got out, I always thought I would go back into finance. I always thought I'd just fall right back into it.
Yep.
But battling issues like with my TBI, and having to be gone so much for surgeries, recovery, all that other stuff, I just didn't really feel confident of being able to go back into the finance industry. So it was kind of at that point that I was like, all right, something's got to be done. So I had an opportunity to go to Oklahoma State University and go through what they call the Veteran Entrepreneurship Program. And it's a program that's offered to veterans that either want to start a business or are already active in a business. And it's almost like a little accelerated MBA program that they offer. So I went through that and really learned a lot, really enjoyed it, applied a lot of it to Operation Pay It Forward and what we do. And it's really helped with not only sustaining the mission, but the growth of the mission as well, especially how rapid it has grown. And recently I had an opportunity, it was pre-COVID. I had the opportunity and I applied for Harvard Business. Didn't really come through because of the COVID stuff and everything, but reapplied this year, got accepted, and I just started that this year. So, attending Harvard Business right now, working on my EMBA, my executive MBA. And the whole plan again is, I say all the time, I'm 51, almost 52 years old. I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up, but
Neither do I.
whole,
Yeah, much to my wife's chagrin, but
right.
It is what makes us us. But that, so for those that may watch this, to hear the things that you're accomplishing for yourself, even at 51 years old, the things that you're doing in the nonprofit world to help other vets. What my hope is that it gives other people hope, because that's, I think, where every dream starts, is we hope to be something or to accomplish something as human beings.
Right.
In my chosen profession, I talk to vets and active military every day, and it's part of what honestly makes my job tolerable. Selling mortgages every day, dude. We're not selling Ferraris. This is not sexy, but what makes it worth it is the purpose.
Yes,
So
the American dream.
Absolutely, you found your purpose, which I'm excited about, because obviously, seeing things progress and you guys progress, not only you individually, but you guys as a family, and keeping up with the kids. And oddly enough, you guys sponsor a hockey team from Abilene. Yes. Obviously we're hockey fans, and I grew up playing, and my son played in high school here in Texas, and which is weird. People hear the word Texas, they don't associate hockey with Texas.
Yeah, exactly.
But
yeah.
I think it helps you spread the word with those things. And to get to see that growth and your family and how well they're doing, and getting to talk to your wife through the real estate side of it, and our conversations, man, it truly makes me proud to be an American, number one. And it truly makes me proud to know guys like you and associate, and I get to learn from you guys every day, whether we talk, face to face or through these communication devices or whatever we do. You still pay attention.
Right.
So just know that you're having a positive effect on lives around the world.
Well, I appreciate that. We've talked about that a little bit before the show. The whole purpose of everything that I do. I mean, even going into the military, my thought behind it was that, weighed heavy on my heart. It was something I felt I needed to do, but I kind of looked at it like, if I don't do it, then who will? And then if nobody does it, then what's going to be the effect with my children and the future generations? And so everything I do now is the same thing. I'm hoping that, again, 51, almost 52, getting EMBA through Harvard. It's like, what am I going to do with that? No one's going to hire some, some old crippled, washed up soldier to come in and run a company. But but I'm hoping that, it's going to motivate others, and I want people to look at me, whether they're looking at me as an above knee amputee, if they're looking at me as a veteran, if they're looking at me as a father, a friend, a neighbor, or just Joe Snuffy on the street. I want people to look at me and think that if he can do it, I can do it. And that's basically what it boils down to. You talked about earlier about learning. What's the point of being here if you're not going to learn anything? I feel like once you feel like you got it all figured out, then, again, what's the point of being here? None of us have it figured out. So you got to strive to educate yourself. You got to strive to motivate others. You got to strive to make the most that you can out of this life. And one of the things I share with, not only our veterans, but our donors, our sponsors, everybody involved with Operation Pay It Forward, anybody that will listen to me, is I feel like we as veterans who were blessed enough to come home, whether we have injuries or not, right? That we have a duty to our brothers and sisters that didn't have the opportunity to come home, to be a husband, to be a wife, to be a father, a mother, a friend, a son, a daughter. You know, we have an obligation to them on their behalf to live our lives to the fullest and seize the moment of every opportunity that presents itself and make the most out of it. And it doesn't matter if you feel motivated to get up and do it or not. That's when you got to freaking pull up the bootstraps and say, you know what, I'm not going to do it for me. I'm going to do it for them because they didn't have this opportunity, and I've got to honor them.
Yeah. And I think, you know, for most Americans, that's a hard thing to grasp, you know,
well, especially nowadays.
Sure. Yeah. Because we pander too much. And I think we've lost sight of that a little bit as a country. You know, and that's another chat for another time because we could be here all day. But you and I have that same philosophy in life. Like, you know, what I want for us is to leave it better than we found it.
Yes.
And that's what you have 6 kids. I have 2, you know, for all those fathers and mothers out there, you know, our kids are watching and they watch you, they watch me, they watch people around them. And it's all about, I tell my sons all the time, this life is all about influence. Yes. And you are going to be influenced by the people that you associate with, by me and by the people you hang around. So choose wisely. Because
absolutely.
Father, and I can say this, we get one shot at this. We got to try to get it right. Doesn't mean we have to be perfect, but we have to try to make it right. And I think part of what we do and part of what I love about what you do now is you give back. You're still involved in that. You're still helping people always. It's always about the mission. It's never about you. Even though what you do affects you and your family directly. So I appreciate that about you and what you're doing. And I've always admired it and I always will. So,
well, I appreciate that. You know, and I'll tell you the same thing. You know, I tell our veterans that we get guys out and, you know, they come to me all the time. Like, man, I can't tell you how much I needed this, how much I appreciate it. You know, what a huge change this has been for me. And I just tell them, you know, don't thank me because I get probably more out of it than they do. I really do.
I agree.
I'm very blessed to be able to do what I do.
Yeah, I'm the same way. So let's do this. We'll wrap it up. And so tell the fine folks out there who watch this how they can send you and donate some money to Operation Pay It Forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Real quick, I want to cover the other programs that we have just other than our outdoor adventure program. So we have PTSD programs. We have continued education programs. We have our ambassador program, of course, the outdoor adventure program. And we just launched a toll-free peer support line where a veteran can call and talk to another veteran that's kind of been there and done that rather than calling a hotline where, you know, the red flags start going off and people are knocking on your doors. And so
is that information on the website? Is all that on there?
It's being updated currently, but let me throw that number out real quick. So if you're interested in reaching out and just talking to another veteran, that number is toll free, 24/7 access. That number for the veteran peer support line is 877-757-2062. Again, that's 877-757-2062. And these are all, these lines are manned by volunteer ambassadors through Operation Pay It Forward. They all have the appropriate training and or educational background for this, but it's really just a way for a veteran to call and talk to another veteran. I mean, if you call like the VA hotline and you say, you know what, I'm getting sick of this guy, my neighbor, I'm going to skull drag him. Now all of a sudden you got cops knocking on your door. But if you say that to another veteran, he's gonna be like, no, bro, I get it. You know, so
right.
Yeah. But if you're interested in finding out more, if you want to donate, if you want to sign up to get out on one of our outdoor adventures or involved in one of our other programs, or if you want to volunteer to assist with anything, you can go to our website, and that website is www.opif4ourvets.org. Again, that's www.opif4ourvets.org, and you can sign up there. You can do donations through there. You can do them through our Facebook. You can reach out to us directly. And if anybody's got any questions, I'm even going to put my personal cell out there. You can reach me through 325-271-0222. And my phone's always on. So if I miss a call, I'll call you right back.
That's outstanding, man. So one of the we'll finish it up with this. One of the things that we do here at Movement is we find charities to give back to through our foundation, and so we can do that through certain channels. And so, because of my relationship with you and how I admire what you do, and that I'm going to nominate OPIF for that grant.
That's awesome. I appreciate that. That really means a lot to me. And as well as I do, that money will be used to maximize the benefit to assist our veterans and or their families.
Yeah, I wouldn't think anything different or expect anything less. I mean, it's a high integrity type situation and an organization. And there's not, honestly, let's face it, there's some nonprofits out there that don't do that. And the fact that 100% of the proceeds go to help veterans, huge.
Yeah.
A lot of them. So if I'm giving somebody a piece of advice who watches this and you're going to donate to a veterans charity, make sure you do your research and figure out where the money goes. Okay.
Please. Yes, please.
There's all kinds
You'll
of
be surprised.
Yeah, you'll be shocked. I'm telling you. Sometimes I'm like, holy cow. But anyway, Mike, brother, I appreciate your time, man, as always. Thank you for being here. Thanks for taking time out of your busy day. I know you are busy, and we appreciate you, man.
Jason, I greatly appreciate the opportunity, man. Thanks for having me on the show. Have me back anytime. I'm on standby.
Always. Yeah, and I will promise I will get out to Abilene. We'll go hunting. We'll do all that as soon as I find some time.
I know. I'm dying. Hey, and for the listeners out there, let me tell you about Jason. So Jason isn't just a buddy and all that stuff, but when it comes to anybody who's going to buy a house, right? The biggest investment you're ever going to make is going to be on your home. So when we deal with our personal stuff, Jason's the man we go to, and we go to him because of his integrity and his professionalism, and because he's a miracle worker. There's a long story behind that, but the man's a miracle worker. So Jason, thank you for everything you do for our veterans and the veteran community, the love, the support, the dedication, because without you, a lot of these guys wouldn't be able to live the American dream. So we appreciate you, brother.
It's my honor, man. I appreciate it. All right, folks. Appreciate your time. Share this with people. People need to hear this message from Mike about Operation Pay It Forward. We'll see you guys next time.
God bless.